Is the European Union witnessing its most public divorce yet? Picture the moment. The chamber is still echoing with applause as Giorgia Meloni finishes a searing, unapologetic speech, one that openly challenges the foundations of the European establishment. And then something extraordinary happens. The seat directly across from her is empty. Ursula von der Leyen has left the room. This was not a scheduled break. This was not a technical mishap. To seasoned diplomats, this was a calculated, cold-blooded political signal. We are no longer talking about policy disagreements. We are talking about open ideological warfare between the President of the European Commission and the most influential right-wing leader in Europe today. Was this a moment of personal frustration? Or was it the unmistakable sign that the bridge between Brussels and Rome has finally collapsed? For months, whispers of a silent Cold War between these two power centers have circulated through G7 corridors and EU summits. Now, those whispers have turned into a deafening silence. Behind closed doors, something broke. And today, we pull back the curtain. We examine the words Meloni used that made von der Leyen walk out, the hidden power struggle shaping Europe's future, and the high-stakes gamble that could either save the European project or tear it apart. What did von der Leyen hear that she refused to sit through? And more importantly, what happens to Europe now that its two most powerful women are no longer speaking the same political language? Because the political map of 2026 is being rewritten, and it's getting ugly. The tension inside the European Council chamber was palpable. A thick cloud of friction hung in the air, felt by everyone, acknowledged by no one, until the silence was finally broken. Giorgia Meloni stood at the podium not just as Italy's first female prime minister, but as the de facto figurehead of a rising conservative wave sweeping across Europe. Her speech was sharp, calculated, stripped of diplomatic pleasantries. She accused the European Commission of overstepping its mandate, of suffocating national sovereignty, and of governing without democratic accountability. This was not a critique of policy. It was a direct challenge to the vision of Europe championed by Ursula von der Leyen. When Meloni condemned the Green Deal as an economic suicide mission for European industry and demanded a radical overhaul of migration policy, the temperature in the room dropped. To the Brussels establishment, this wasn't debate. It was insurrection. Then came the moment no one expected. As Meloni outlined her demands for the next institutional cycle, Ursula von der Leyen made her move. She didn't interrupt. She didn't argue. She stood up. With a controlled, expressionless face, she gathered her documents and walked out. No handshake, no glance back, just an empty chair where the president of the European Commission should have been sitting. To veterans of EU politics, this was a diplomatic nuclear strike. In a system where every gesture is choreographed, walking out on the leader of the EU's third largest economy is a declaration of ideological war. To understand the gravity of this moment, look at the numbers. 720 seats. The European Parliament is more fragmented than ever. The traditional grand coalition supporting von der Leyen is weakening, while Meloni's European conservatives and reformist bloc is emerging as a decisive kingmaker. Then there's the €800 billion question. Italy is the largest recipient of post-pandemic EU recovery funds. By walking out, von der Leyen sent a silent but unmistakable message. The money flows through Brussels, not Rome. And then there's the economic pressure point. Italy's debt-to-GDP ratio sits at roughly 130%. Meloni demands flexibility. Brussels demands discipline. This walkout was the physical embodiment of that deadlock. This isn't just a clash of personalities. It's a clash of worlds. Von der Leyen represents a centralized, federalist Europe where Brussels dictates climate, migration, and social policy. Meloni represents a Europe of nations, where capitals reclaim borders, budgets, and authority. By leaving the room, von der Leyen attempted to dismiss Meloni's ideas as unworthy of debate. But in doing so, she may have sent a far more dangerous signal, that the European establishment no longer listens to dissent. The optics are disastrous. At a moment when Europe faces inflation, war on its borders, and internal instability, its two most powerful leaders can't even sit in the same room. The Brussels bubble isn't just leaking, it's bursting. Meloni stayed and finished her speech, but the empty chair spoke louder than any words. It was the sound of a union cracking at the seams. And the fallout didn't stop at the exit door. Within hours, the Meloni effect began spreading across Europe. From Paris to Budapest, nationalist and conservative leaders took note. If the president of the European Commission can't face a member state leader, does the Commission still hold moral authority? The silence in that room wasn't weakness. It was the sound of the old guard losing control. The empty chair left behind isn't just a symbol of a bad meeting. It's a symbol of a fractured continent. For decades, the European Union survived on compromise, late-night negotiations, polite handshakes, quiet deals. That era may have ended the moment the door closed behind Ursula von der Leyen. Now the world is watching. Will Brussels retaliate by withholding funds or launching new legal actions? Or will this walkout be remembered as the moment von der Leyen overplayed her hand? And on the other side, will Meloni use this snub to galvanize a new nationalist alliance, creating a union within the union? The Cold War between Rome and Brussels is no longer hidden. It's public, and it's a battle for the soul of Europe. Only one vision can prevail. What do you think? Was this a necessary stand against populism, or a desperate act by a leader losing control? Is Giorgia Meloni defending democracy, or risking disintegration? The cameras stopped rolling, but the political earthquake has just begun. The Europe of yesterday is gone. What comes next depends on who blinks first. Share your thoughts in the comments.